Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So the market, guys, today is fairly quiet. Market cap still holding at around $1.2 trillion. So we really haven't seen too much movement for market cap, and Bitcoin dominance up here 47%. So Bitcoin still the leader of the pack. It is still early on in this bull run. I mean, you can see over the last 24 hours here, in this middle column here, you can see Bitcoin was down a little bit. Ethereum up by a smidge. BNB coin down 0.25%, so on and so forth. XRP was down 1.08. Cardano down 0.85. So, within the last 24 hours this weekend, we haven't really seen much movement. That has not been the case for the rest of the week. This week has been quite a week. This is XRP on the daily, and we were seeing ups and downs, ups and downs. We can actually see it better on the Bitcoin chart here if I throw that on the hourly. The beginning of the week started in and around here, April 24th, with a huge surge, then coming right back down. Shorts had been liquidated, buyers were buying up, so confidence was still there for Bitcoin. And now we're just kind of petering off, so kind of similar to what we would have seen if all this stuff in here didn't happen. So I mean, if this surge topped out in here, it's kind of the same area as what we're seeing, or as what we saw on Thursday. And then just a bit of a petering out. So, I mean, if this was the anomaly here, this would be forming, a bullish pennant pattern. And even taking a look at XRP, guys, on the hourly, we are seeing that, the trend, even though we did see a pretty steady move up since about Wednesday, higher lows here for XRP on the chart, we are coming back down here and trying to find some new support here. So bringing Bitcoin back up here on the 4-hour time frame, you guys can see that bullish pennant pattern a little bit better here on the 4-hour. You guys can see reduced volume here after this surge of voluminous activity over the last week. I mean, but it is looking good. Ultimately, we are seeing, the higher lows, the higher highs being formed here. Let me throw it on the daily, just so you guys can see, the trend is still moving in the right direction. Bottomed out in and around here on the 24th. And then moving up higher. So, I mean, right up here, it would be roughly $31,000. That is now the new price ceiling that Bitcoin does need to break out past in order to make some new highs. And I do think the market will follow. I mean, again, we are still early on in this bull run. So market slowly grinding up. And I know it does not feel like it sometimes, on the day-to-day, sometimes it's difficult to stomach, especially if you bought a position in cryptocurrency back in and around here when you thought, for example, okay, we saw the top of the market and now it has dipped and now we saw this double bottom pattern here and, you're hoping it was going to continue to go up. Technically, I guess you would still be underwater if you bought Bitcoin at 38,000, let's say, and had to wait since February or March 2022 just to get back above water. So, that was me first time around. I have learned that these bull markets do take a while to bottom out before the rebound. So I'm hoping you guys did accumulate down and around here, whether it was Bitcoin, XRP, or other altcoins. Please do let me know in the comments section. Yesterday, I did also mention that this prominent YouTube channel was hacked, but now YouTube is getting the Did You Know Gaming YouTube channel back. It was hacked with a phony Ripple XRP promotion, but it's looking down here. Team YouTube said, "So sorry you're having to deal with this. First, we'll need to get some quick info from you, and then we'll connect you with a specialist team to help you restore your account access." So I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if there's a link here, but all right, here, just down here, Did You Know Gaming did in fact post this, suggesting that they are back online. Something to, especially in the XRP community, because these hackers are hacking prominent websites, not even targeting, XRP or Ripple influencers or even crypto influencers specifically. They are targeting anybody who is vulnerable. So, specifically for the XRP community, because we are such a robust community, but we're also a very, very smart community. So, I'm hoping nobody fell for the scam. And I'm also happy to see that this gaming website did get their channel restored. So just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Digital Assets Daily posting this too, guys, with a look at the Brics countries. And it looks as though 24 nations have aligned against the US dollar. So they are specifically saying, okay, we want to be part of this BRICS alliance, and we do not want to have to be subject to US dollar dominance. So 24 countries now, the group of 5 economically aligned countries collectively known as BRICS, is reportedly on the cusp of a massive expansion. So we've heard a little bit about these expanding countries. The core collective consists of the original, as we know. Now a total of 24 nations want to be in this consortium. And so I guess on top of the nations that have already decided to join the BRICS nations, there are more looking to join. This coming from Anil Suklal. He's South Africa's BRICS ambassador. So the group of known newcomers includes Saudi Arabia, Iran, Argentina, the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, Egypt, Bahrain, Indonesia, 2 unnamed nations from East Africa, and 1 from West Africa. So we heard about some of these already, and that is not nearly 24 nations. According to the Russia state-owned news agency Sputnik, Brics is in the early stages of developing a new global currency that would circumvent the US dollar. So these guys are actively looking for participants. I don't know what their guidelines are to join. However, the more countries they acquire, obviously the better it is for them. But also more likely, U.S. dollar dominance will go down. Russian State Duma Deputy Chairman Alexander Babakov, he said the new form of fiat will likely be backed by other assets, including precious metals and gold. Additional details are likely to emerge by the summer, with the next BRICS summit set for South Africa in late August. So all these nations, the ones that we named here and the unnamed ones, the ones that do want to join the BRICS nations, they've always been subject to U.S. dollar dominance, and obviously they want things to change. The banking sector is changing. DLT technology, cryptocurrencies have changed the landscape, and a lot of these central banks are already Ripple enabled. We've talked a lot about ISO 20022 in regards to Ripple technology. We talked, in the early days when Ripple did join the ISO 20022 standard, they were the first company that was related to cryptocurrency that joined, and that got us really excited. Then there was, information coming down the pipe that, there's no such thing as an ISO 20022 coin. However, guys, even though that is the case, and even though that is technically true, Bob Way from Ripple, has confirmed that the ISO 20022 standard is in fact a benefit for Ripple. Now, Bob Way was telling us this back last year. Anders here on Twitter posting this, dug up some old Bob Way tweets. Bob Way was telling us that ISO 20022 migration for cross-border payments is a big deal for Ripple. Read this carefully, since an ex-employee of Ripple understands this very, very well. Now, Bob Way, if you guys don't know, one of the very first developers on the XRP ledger, so he has a lot of insight on where Ripple was going way back then, where their drive was, where they wanted to focus. And he clarifies on the ISO 20022 standard. This one was actually just from last month. He says ISO 20022 is way bigger than you might think at first. It replaces the previous SWIFT standards, MT and MX, and adds a lot of other things. Now, back in December of 2022, he even said stuff like this. It's extremely helpful to Ripple's bank sales team. Now, you got to think about this for a second. Ripple is in the business of selling its products to banks. If the ISO 20022 standard is in place, that is actually going to make it easier and more likely that banks will jump on board. And the reason is this. This is the number one reason most bank integrations don't happen. And this is why, guys, by the way, that it was tough, very difficult for Ripple to integrate banks back in 2018, 2017, 2018, even 2019, because nobody wanted to take a risk. He says, new system development is expensive and risky. Mistakes can generate bank losses or fines. Bankers get fired. The person you are negotiating with must have, 1, a project budget, a development budget, and risk appetite, which in a lot of cases, right, these bankers just don't, they're not kind of leaning that way. So Bob Way continues by saying, with a mandatory 20022 change happening, the person you are negotiating with only needs to have the product budget. And now with ISO 20022 becoming the standard and the whole world having to finally integrate on that standard, that is just going to become more and more commonplace. Money for development has already been allocated elsewhere. Nobody gets fired for following the mandate. So there's no risk here, right? And there's no development budget needed. All you need is the money to finally integrate. That makes the sale a much easier lift for Ripple. So Bob Way explaining this back in December. That all being said, bank software sales is still a hard process, especially with the SEC suit still adding FUD to the process. Now, here we have the SEC suit. So, in a way, the SEC obviously working against Ripple for, a multitude of reasons. I think this is a multifaceted, complex issue that we're facing here. But, the SEC suit does not bode well for Ripple in the US in terms of adoption of RippleNet, XRP, all that stuff, even though we are now seeing, an ISO 20022 integration. But even if banks wait for a settlement, their 20022 upgraded systems become much easier for Ripple to integrate with then. So, this is the silver lining, I guess. They're already Ripple enabled. They can already integrate onto RippleNet once they are ISO 20022 compatible, and the integration will be much easier. The biggest impact is going to be that even smaller banks are going to be upgrading their systems. That creates a much larger pool of ODL compatible banks. So some clarity here from Bob Way. Wanted to thank Anders just for mentioning that. Now, we talked about the WEF as well, and we've talked about their initiatives outside of payments, energy efficient, carbon neutrality. Blockchains need to be environmentally responsible. And I talked a little bit about a new World Economic Forum report from just this month. I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. Here's another one from the Wrath of Kahneman, though. The WEF's Guidelines for Improving Blockchain Environmental and Social Impact 2023 report. They're also talking about Ripple and the XRP Foundation specifically. So really pushing Ripple, and not just that, the XRP Foundation, the first phase of deployment involves using energy attribute certificates from renewable energy sources to reduce the carbon footprint of electricity consumption in the blockchain. Through Energy Web's open source application EW0, individuals, businesses, or entire blockchain ecosystems can transition to using verified zero carbon electricity. So some of these founding organizations, obviously Ripple and the XRP Foundation, two of the big ones that obviously the WEF sees as important for the future of finance. Now, speaking of the WEF, ISO 20022, let's do it here on Twitter, posted this. I'm going to read you this passage first, okay? 73% of the 816 questioned information and communication technology experts said that they expected the first government to begin using DLT to collect taxes by the year 2023. Now, can you guess when this report was from? Okay, he was responding to this initial tweet here from Whale Chart down here. IRS officially suggests that the US may implement cryptocurrency tax regulations within the next 12 months. So this just came out 2 days ago, April 28th. The IRS saying this is going to happen. They hope to issue tax guidance in about 12 months-ish, they say. Julie Forrester said from the stage at Consensus 2023 on Friday. The Digital Asset Project Director also said the IRS is planning to change how it looks at cryptocurrency and wants to work more with the industry. Right down here, take a look at this. We are engaging with you all to get it right and built a plan. She later added, the IRS needs to look at the skills of the people we have today and those we will bring on in the future. We need to have the right tools and the right people. As it currently stands, the IRS considers cryptocurrencies to be convertible virtual assets that can be used as payments for goods and services, digitally traded between users and exchanges for other currencies, while not considered to be a fiat currency, so they are very, very specific when they classified cryptos. For federal tax purposes, cryptocurrencies are considered property, and as such, users are required to report their digital asset activity. Okay, fine. Nothing. Is there anything here with regards to payments? No, not too much with regards to payments. However, now we're seeing the IRS. I mean, I'm sure it's coming around the corner very, very quickly. The bigger point here is the fact that the IRS looking at tax guidance for cryptocurrencies, obviously the next step is going to be, perhaps even accepting cryptocurrency to pay your taxes. But back to this original article here, okay, using DLT to collect taxes. Now, even if, people want to use their property, as the IRS has described cryptos, to pay their taxes, of course, DLT technology could work in the background, i.e. RippleNet, using XRP for liquidity to convert it to fiat dollars to pay your taxes. I looked for this report, and guys, they were predicting this 8 years ago, November 2015. DeepShift 21 Ways software will transform global society. And that's when they were talking about DLT to collect taxes in 2023. So it's very odd or coincidental maybe, or maybe not, how these predictions always seem to come to fruition in the exact timeline that they predict, even considering that this was predicted 8 years ago. Just shows me that the people with power obviously have tremendous power, and that, they are controlling the system, and this has been in the pipe this entire time. So it's great. We're following. We see Ripple's trajectory. We see Ripple's partnerships growing. We see that Ripple has been a partner of the WEF since the beginning. And I mean, they cannot do it alone. This great reset has to be triggered by something big, and we're starting to see, U.S. banks specifically start to crumble one at a time. It was SVB Bank. Signature Bank had to close as well, not due to anything specific. They said, Barney Frank came out, said, our fundamentals are great, but it was a political decision. Another thing that should probably make you go, And here we have another one, guys. First Republic Bank, brought to us by Michael Branch here. They're facing a potential takeover by the FDIC amidst financial struggles. So according to multiple reports, First Republic Bank is facing significant financial difficulties and could be taken over by the FDIC if private sector banks do not intervene. The FDIC has reportedly approached several large commercial banks regarding purchasing First Republic Bank after the bank's stocks dropped more than 50% on Friday. Now, I had to take a look at what these stocks were trading at. First, I guess I should probably say these guys are a commercial bank and provider of wealth management services headquartered in San Francisco, California. They cater to high net worth individuals, so specifically people with high net worths. It operates 93 offices in 11 states, primarily in New York, California, Massachusetts, and Florida. Ticker symbol is FRC. Let's just go back here, FRC. And guys, take a look at that stock price. Wow. Was trading at around $120, give or take. And over the last couple of months, this is the daily chart, over the last couple of months, just cratered. Here, let me throw it on the weekly, and you guys can probably see that better. So now trading down here at about $3.50. Yeah, all you have to do is take a look at that chart to realize that these guys are, in fact, in deep trouble. So, this is just one of many banks that I think is going to falter, all while the SEC is keeping the solution back, even though we know Gary Gensler realizes the power of Ripple and XRP. I mean, even mentioned it here in this presentation. This one was sponsored by Glassnode back in 2019. Startup unicorns, including all these companies and Ripple. I mean, the power that Ripple can unleash is so valuable at this point in time that, investors and bankers overseas, they realize it and they want to harness that power. But in the United States, because of the legacy banking system, they're trying something else here, and Gary Gensler, a bit of a pawn in their plan. They do not want to relinquish power, and they see Ripple as a threat, no doubt. Mikkel here bringing this up as well. So another interesting observation, and this is a bit speculative, with regards to building central bank digital currencies on the XRPL, and the plan to expand. Now listen to this for a second. Okay, so Palau does what the US says. There's no doubt in my mind the Fed greenlit the CBDC built on the XRP ledger. The lawsuit is a smokescreen. The Federal Reserve is working with Ripple to build central bank infrastructure. An interesting theory here. Y2Socrates also chimed in on this. Credit to Mikkel. Yet Palau is independent. They have been independent from the USA since 1994, but much like a territory in banking, funding for infrastructure, etc., from the United States. Now notice, the United States using these smaller countries to almost kind of pilot a central bank digital currency before expanding. And the choices they've made are very interesting and very poignant. Listen to this, okay? There are bigger plans at play here. So he posted this, essentially just a description of Palau and its relationship to the United States. Anders down here responded to this. Certainly something is going on behind the scenes. Also, the Montenegro partnership that we heard about a month ago is not in the Eurozone or even in the EU, but still uses the euro. And what about Bhutan? Okay, so first, Montenegro using the euro, not a European country, but uses the euro. Ripple is in partnership with Montenegro. And then there was the Bhutan partnership from years ago. They use the BTN, or the Ngultrum. Symbol for the Ngultrum is NU. The currency is divided into 100 churtums. The Ngultrum is pegged to the Indian rupee at par. So the Indian rupee, the euro, and the US dollar. Bhutan, Montenegro, and Palau, respectively. Anders continuing on with this theory here, okay? Palau will pilot a USD stablecoin on the XRP ledger, since Palau uses USD as its currency. Montenegro has signed a partnership with Ripple for a central bank digital currency or stablecoin. Details are still not yet known. Montenegro, though, uses the euro as its currency, even though they're not in the Eurozone or EU. Familiar. What if Montenegro pilots a euro on the XRPL? You could then have a regulated USD as well as a regulated euro directly on the XRPL as stablecoins regulated by sovereign states. What if you could then have the Euro USD corridor directly on the XRP ledger with an option to use XRP in between the largest corridor in the world regulated on the XRPL for instant settlement? So boom, interesting connections here. I mean, if you did have that corridor already developed, because you already have these island nations utilizing these particular central bank digital currencies, well, then there's your pilot right there. You do not have to test any further. Are they really only targeting inefficient corridors? They opened the Euro USD as one of the first ODL corridors, even though some thought it would be impossible. So for perspective, this is about a $3.5 trillion per day corridor, guys. It seriously does get you thinking. I mean, the euro, the USD, a 3.5 trillion daily corridor would only make sense. Think of the value brought to XRP, not to mention Bhutan and the Indian rupee, maybe targeting the Brics nations as well. For the next play, all things to seriously think about. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.